You don't become rich by announcing it. You become rich by aligning with it, long before the world applauds. There's a silent moment unknown to others, where destiny either expands or collapses. It doesn't happen on stage. It happens in the dark, when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, when no one is asking, "How's your dream coming along?" And that's where most people fail. Not because they lack ambition, not because they lack goals, but because they don't have a private discipline strong enough to carry a public calling. You see, most people are only committed when the spotlight is on. But the spotlight doesn't build success. It only exposes what you rehearsed in the dark. Right now, there are people working in silence. People who are waking up at 4 a.m. with no one to impress. People who are reading while others scroll. People who are investing while others consume. People who are sweating in private, because they know that wealth, real wealth, is a silent contract with consistency. They don't need validation. They don't need applause. They just need that quiet moment at the end of the day to say, "I kept the promise to myself." That's what the rich do differently. They win the war in the shadows, so they can lead in the light. And you? You might be losing not because you're incapable, but because your rituals only exist when someone else is watching. Are you strong when no one sees? Are you faithful when there's no reward? Are you focused when there's no pressure? Because if not, the version of you that success is looking for has not yet been born. Success doesn't begin with applause. It begins with alignment. When the world is quiet, when no one is clapping, when you're alone with your habits, your thoughts, and your choices, that's where wealth is invited in. What the rich do differently is not necessarily harder. It's just hidden. They don't wait for accountability. They live accountable. They know that success is a spiritual commitment long before it's a material manifestation. Napoleon Hill taught that thought is the starting point of all riches. But the thought must be sustained, protected, and acted upon, not once but repeatedly, even when no results appear. This is why most people never cross that threshold. Because when no one is watching, they break the promise. They binge distractions. They choose comfort. They let their vision fall asleep just because no one was there to remind them to stay awake. But the rich, the ones who truly live in alignment with their purpose, they do the work no one sees. They write in silence, pray in silence, read in silence, build in silence, fail in silence, rise again, still in silence. Because they know something the world forgets. Silence is not the absence of activity. It's the birthplace of legacy. There is a secret rhythm that plays in the background of every truly successful life. You can't hear it in public. You can't see it on stage. But it's always there, steady, unshaken, and sacred. It's called invisible discipline. And this, more than talent, more than charisma, more than even connections, is what separates those who manifest wealth from those who only fantasize about it. Invisible discipline is what you practice when no one's affirming you, when the results haven't shown up yet, when the temptation to quit is whispering louder than your belief. While the average person thinks, "No one will notice if I skip today," the wealthy think, "This is the day that counts most," because no one will. They understand that who you are in the dark becomes what you are in the light. They don't perform, they become. This discipline is spiritual in nature. It's not fueled by pressure, but by purpose. Not driven by validation, but by vision. Napoleon Hill called this definiteness of purpose, a burning desire backed by faith and persistence. The wealthy cultivate this in silence, through early mornings, late nights, and a refusal to negotiate with mediocrity. They turn down distractions. They cancel shortcuts. They choose mastery over noise, because they know what you rehearse in private, you release in public. The secret habits of the wealthy are not glamorous. They are sacred. They rise early not to impress, but to align. They journal not for productivity, but for clarity. They study fast, pray, read, repeat. Not because they have to, but because their future demands it. And here's the paradox. What the world calls obsession, the wealthy experience as devotion. They are not addicted to hustle culture. They are committed to consecrated repetition, the daily act of showing up for something no one else can see. It is a form of self-governance, not out of control or pride, but out of reverence for their calling. Napoleon Hill understood this deeply. In Think and Grow Rich, he wrote that riches respond to the state of mind, not effort alone, but effort aligned with belief and definite purpose. This is why most people will never cross that line, because true wealth asks you to sacrifice comfort for congruence, to turn down what's loud in order to strengthen what's true, to build when no one's clapping, to trust when nothing's visible, to act when doubt still echoes. Those who do this consistently begin to radiate a different energy. They become magnetic, not because they chase, but because they're aligned. This is the invisible discipline that becomes visible in every result. Not the performance, the preparation, not the speech, the silence before it, not the arrival, the thousands of unseen steps. There is a dangerous myth in our culture that success arrives in moments of spotlight, that what makes someone wealthy is what happens on stages, in deals, or in front of a camera. But Napoleon Hill shattered that illusion a century ago. He taught that what manifests in public is born in the privacy of thought, and this is where most people lose the race before it even begins. They underestimate the weight of the invisible. They chase followers before principles, visibility before values, momentum before meaning. But the rich, those who think generationally, have a different blueprint. Their real work is not in performance. It's in preparation. They understand that how you treat your mornings when no one is watching determines how you'll handle millions when everyone is. They know that wealth is less about attraction and more about alignment. They ask themselves, what version of me does the future require? Where is my current behavior betraying my destiny? What habits do I keep privately that either build or burn my momentum? This level of introspection is rare because it demands ownership. No one to blame, no one to impress, no stage, no applause, only the echo of your own integrity. And here's the truth most won't tell you. The world will always reward you publicly for what you mastered privately. But that reward only comes when you stop outsourcing your worth and start insourcing your wisdom. That means waking up early not for motivation, but for alignment. It means keeping your word to yourself, especially when it's inconvenient. It means turning silence into strength, not absence. When no one is looking, the wealthy ask themselves a question that most avoid. Who am I in the absence of recognition? This is not a philosophical exercise. It's a spiritual audit. Because the truth is, success isn't just a result, it's a responsibility. And if you can't be trusted with solitude, you won't be trusted with success. Napoleon Hill knew this well. He warned us that the mind is always building, silently, and that our dominant thoughts are the blueprints for our future circumstances. What are you secretly rehearsing? Is it resentment or resilience? Doubt or dominion? There is a sacred energy to hidden discipline. It doesn't seek praise, it seeks precision. While others look for shortcuts, the wealthy refine their character in the dark. They understand that the morning routine no one claps for is the foundation of empires, that the financial mindset isn't built in moments of hype, but in hours of humility. This is why they journal when others scroll, they reflect when others react, they prepare when others procrastinate, because they know that money responds to meaning, and meaning is forged in secret. The moment you start aligning your hidden life with your highest calling, you activate the silent laws of success. Laws that don't respond to noise, but to consistency. And when those laws are set in motion, what once looked like stagnation becomes divine strategy. When you master your private world, the public one has no choice but to reflect your inner richness. There's a truth most won't admit. The greatest rewards of wealth don't come from the spotlight. They come from divine observation. While the world teaches you to hustle louder, perform more, and prove constantly, there is a higher realm watching what no one else sees. Not the Instagram post, not the speech, not the paycheck, but the hidden posture of your soul. Because success that is eternal, not just material, is assigned, not seized. When Napoleon Hill spoke of definiteness of purpose, he was referring to something far deeper than mere goal setting. He was talking about soul alignment, about living in a way that your every action, word, and silence is an offering to the invisible laws of success and ultimately to God. In the Bible, Jesus says, "But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." This isn't just about prayer, it's a blueprint, an invitation to understand. What you do in silence sets the stage for supernatural rewards. The wealthy, truly wealthy, live this. They tithe in silence. They give when no one sees. They build when there's no feedback. Because they aren't performing, they're aligning. And alignment is what opens doors that hustle never could. To walk in this realm is to accept that your life is not a performance, but a covenant. That every quiet act of discipline is a down payment on your divine legacy. There is a type of discipline that echoes beyond the material world. A discipline performed in secret, when the only eyes watching are not human. This is where the rich differ, not just financially, but spiritually. They understand something few grasp. True prosperity is a response to alignment, not effort alone. And the most powerful alignment doesn't shout. It whispers, it waits, it obeys in silence. Napoleon Hill often emphasized the role of autosuggestion, the intentional repetition of thoughts, desires, and beliefs. But here's what most miss. Autosuggestion works best when it's consistent, especially when no one is applauding. It's in the unseen repetition of your affirmations, the quiet journaling of your goals, the midnight routines of vision work, that heaven begins to respond. Because God is not fooled by public ambition. He is moved by private integrity. You don't have to broadcast your morning ritual. You don't need a witness to your fast. You don't have to post the books you're reading. If it's real, it will manifest. Not because you showed it, but because you lived it. The wealthiest people you admire, they didn't just work harder, they worked quieter. And in that sacred quiet, they heard instructions others couldn't. They moved when others hesitated. They obeyed when others needed proof. And that's why heaven moved for them. Because when your rituals are born from reverence, not ego, the universe and the divine conspire to elevate you. The reward is not in being seen. The reward is in becoming what no one saw coming. There's a reason success doesn't arrive the moment you decide you want it. There's a reason the rich train in obscurity for years, often dismissed, misunderstood, or underestimated. Because the universe isn't transactional. It's transformational. You don't get rewarded when you want something. You get rewarded when you become someone. And that becoming happens slowly, silently, painfully. It is forged in early mornings no one knows about, in sacrifices that leave no visible scars, in private commitments that don't make sense to anyone but your soul. Here's what you must understand. There is a rhythm to manifestation that isn't based on logic, but on energetic readiness. Success arrives like rain to a land that has prepared the soil. Not before, never by force. The rich, those truly in alignment, don't beg for opportunities. They embody them. They are the signal. They are the frequency. And that's why wealth meets them halfway. Because the reward isn't for effort, it's for identity. The question is never, what do I want to receive? It is, who do I need to become to receive it? And so they wait. Not passively, but faithfully. They keep the promise they made to themselves when no one believed in their dream. And one day, without announcement or trumpet, what they've been building in silence becomes undeniable. The world calls it overnight success. But they know better. They know it was never sudden. It was simply unseen. There is a shift that occurs in the life of the wealthy, but few ever notice when it happens. It's not the money that marks the transition. It's not the recognition, the status, or even the freedom. It's the internal confirmation. I no longer need to prove it. I've become it. This is where the real reward begins. Not the car, not the account balance, but the inner calibration to a new standard of being. You no longer chase success. It orbits you. You no longer explain your value. You carry it in your silence. You no longer rehearse your future. You wake up inside it. And the most profound shift? You begin to protect what others still desire to prove. Because when you've truly mastered a season of growth in secret, you no longer want to expose it to applause. You want to preserve it with reverence. This is why the rich don't post every move. This is why legacy is built in whispers, not in noise. Because anything that grows in the dark has stronger roots. The most valuable things in life, character, discipline, spiritual certainty, are invisible first. And when those things are aligned, money becomes a byproduct. Not the prize, not the pursuit, just evidence. You realize the reward was never external. It was the integrity you maintained when no one was looking. The agreements you kept with your future self when quitting would have been easier. The moments you acted in faith with no validation and still walked forward. That's the true wealth. A life built on silence, sealed in vision, and revealed only when it's too powerful to hide. There comes a moment in every journey when knowledge is no longer enough. You've read the books. You've watched the videos. You've said the affirmations. But nothing changes until you become the kind of person who honors the invisible. Because there's a difference, a massive one, between wanting success and being willing to earn it when no one's watching. The wealthy ones you admire, they didn't become different when they got rich. They were already different, in silence. While most people post, they pray. While others chase validation, they refine their discipline. While the world rushes to be seen, they remain rooted in becoming. So let me ask you, are you ready to be that kind of person? The kind who doesn't need applause because they've already been approved in the unseen? The kind who chooses discipline over distraction, repetition over recognition, excellence in the dark, until the light has no choice but to find them. If this spoke to something deep inside you, if a silent certainty has always whispered that your time is coming, but it will be built when no one's watching, then write in the comments, "I build my wealth in silence." That phrase is your signature, not to me, not to the world, but to your own spirit. It tells the universe, I'm ready for the invisible contract, that you accept the cost, the silence, the routine, the inner work, and that you trust the reward. You are not alone. You are part of the generation building empires with no noise. Because real power doesn't shout, it just remains.